Hey, welcome back. Today I wanted to show you how to make this type wall hanging. This is macrame yarn and just like some wood strips. I did mine smaller because I don't have a wall that big to put any piece of art on. This one right here cost about $780. You can get them for a bit cheaper, but you know they range different prices. So I'm going to show you how to make a smaller version because like I said, I do not have a wall that big, but it's going to be rather cheap. This piece of wood I got from Home Depot and it was already pre-cut that way and it was just $1.90 something. And then I have 3mm macrame yarn that I ordered off of Amazon. You don't need the whole spool, but it's good to have and it doesn't cost that much, and then you can use it for other projects. All right, so let's get started with this super easy wall decor that you can do by yourself. All right, if you like home decor and different tutorials and things like that, make sure to follow along so that you can keep up to date with all the DIYs and crafts. And I'm going to be doing a whole lot over the holiday season because I have too many ideas in my head. I need to get them out. All right, so I'm using cardboard because if you're like me, you've been home ordering stuff and you have a bunch of boxes that you have to throw out every recycling day. So I just kept a few pieces to do this because you're going to need some type of backing to hold the yarn still. Glue gun, glue sticks, and something to make your round shape. So I'm just taking them and I'm going to put them where I want to put them. I'm keeping the little piece of wood handy so that I make sure that I cut my pieces to the right size, because you don't want to cut them bigger than the piece that you're going to need or smaller than what you need. Once you have the shape that you want, you're just going to cut it out with scissors. You can use a razor, whatever. I bend the cardboard a little bit to help me get around the curves. Not the piece that I want to use. I don't like to bend that. I don't know how it would affect it, but I don't bend it just in case it'll make it, you know, floppy. And then once you have the outer shape, then you're just going to go in and do the inner shape. I had to I wound up adjusting it once I started putting the macrame yarn on because the shape wasn't ideal. I could have fiddled with it and made it work, but I changed it. But you just go ahead and you'll do that. You probably want to so you won't have to do that, make it even space, because you can see how the middle part there is like a way bigger distance between the top and the bottom than the side pieces. But if everything was even, then I wouldn't have had to adjust it. But anyway, so you'll cut your pieces out that you need, and that's the curve shape that I want, and then you'll go on to the next step. This is like when you get the yarn ready. Okay, so you can see the small piece too on the end. Just wanted to mention is not the same as the other ones, but the thickness on the base of it, so then I had to play around with that too. But anyway, all right, so the yarn, you're gonna want a piece to hang, so you're just gonna like loop it around, and once you get the length that you want, and maybe just a little bit longer because you're going to be braiding it, you're going to do 3 pieces for each braid for that size. So I cut out about 15 sets of 3. I did not need 15 sets of 3, so I did something else with it for a Christmas DIY that I'm going to be doing later on. But I cut out all of those sets and then I started to braid them. So you'll just do that. Okay, so once you start braiding, what I did is tie a knot there, but you can tape it down. You can do whatever to keep the pieces together. But I tied a knot and then I just braided it all down. And you can see the whole set of 15 that I have there to braid. And there's so much of the macrame still left. And what you're going to do is you're not going to braid it all the way because, like I said, you want a piece to hang. So I wanted that out. So I made sure on both ends I just tied that off so that I didn't have to braid that part. And then once you do that and you have them all braided, then you'll come back and you'll put them onto the cardboard. You have to glue them down so that they stick and everything is good. So now I know all my pieces are long enough, and I am still keeping the wood by. I'm not gluing it to the wood just yet, but I want to make sure that I have that space, and not too big a space, not too small a space. So I just want to keep it close by, so like in between the cardboard, there is that space. You could cut a continuous little swirl so that you just glue the whole thing all the way around, so that you wouldn't have the gaps in between, and then it would be easier to glue. But I didn't want it too bulky, and I just left off that piece of cardboard there in the back. But when I'm gluing them close to the edge as possible, so that it has a little bit of an overhang. So you just really continue all the way around the edge, and then you'll leave the little gap piece in the middle. Or like I said, if you have the cardboard there, you'll go all the way around, and then you'll start on the inner part of the next one. So I did the outer part of this one, and then the inner part of the next one. And then I'm not going to go all the way to the last one because the shape is different than the other two. I had to try to figure out how I was going to do that and connect those pieces. So I really just went around the first two pieces, making sure to leave the little gap piece. And I didn't make sure to, like I said, go in and out. So on the outside, I mean outside, inside, so that it made sense when it all went around. Then when I was ready to start the next piece, I matched up kind of the knots, because you want the hanging part to be kind of the same. And then I tried to glue it as close as possible so it wouldn't be gaps in between it. So if you have to, you just, once you put down the glue, just push it a little bit there so that they all kind of butt up together and there's no gaps. And then you just keep going around and around like that until you fill the whole thing in. As I got closer to the end, then that's when I was like, oh, can't really keep going because of that big piece in the middle. Because like I said, the distances were different from, each side. I could have just glued to the middle and then left the others. But then you'll see later on that it needs support to kind of hold the shape. So the cardboard is there to help it hold the shape. So without the cardboard, it's kind of floppy. So I cut away the extra as close as I can cut it, but just leaving just enough to put, another strip on it, but you wouldn't see it from the outside. So, like I said, once I did that, then I just adjusted the cardboard to make it make sense for what I was doing and kept on going. And now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to connect the other piece, because when I was cutting it, it made sense. I wanted a smaller circle or half circle than the other one. So first I was going to braid it, but then I was like, it'll look too bulky kind of when it curves over. So then I changed my mind on that. And then I was like, I'll just continue the curves, but I'll have to kind of make it bigger than the actual piece that I cut. So you could just play around with it, but I wanted to make sure everything lined up and still stayed on the stick, because if I made the curve without kind of measuring where it was going to go on the stick, then it would have been over the stick, and then it wouldn't have had anything to hold on to. I guess you could do it like that because you'll still have the cardboard in the back. I might have could have kept it like that. Okay, but I was worried, so I kept it with the space of the stick. And then I realized I was curving it the wrong way, because for some reason I started curving that piece from the inside, not the outside, and I had to flip it around because I got a little turned around when I was doing it. But then I got back on track and I figured it all out and started gluing the top part. So once I figured all that out, then I went and got my stain. This is my favorite stain. I used it doing my deck. I use it for whatever. And it's just a little bottle, but it lasts so long. And I only do one coat. You're supposed to probably seal it and what have you and whatever, but it's not like this is going to come into contact with a bunch of things. So I just really put one coat on it, and then I used at you know, because I recycle, I used a face mask that I had used for that day, and just to wipe off the excess stain. So I just did the outside and the edges. I didn't do the back because you're not really going to see the back. That's where I'm going to be gluing the macrame pieces, and that's the part that is going to be against the wall. So I didn't do that part, but you could do it if you want to cover the whole thing. But I stained that, wiped off the excess, like I said, let it dry. Right there, you're not really picking up the color, but anyway, it's a nice color when you see it in person, and it really complements the natural tones in the macrame. So if you have like a natural, you know, decor with like natural tones and different things like that, that is a great stain to use. All right, so once I have all my pieces glued down to my cardboard, now I'm going to glue them on to the stick. So I'm gluing them one by one at the beginning part, so I can make sure they, you know, butt up just like the other parts and stay together. Once I got towards the middle part, I wasn't going to be able to do that because the way it is, you can't do it one by one. So I just really laid down the first one, glued it, and then just laid down a lot of glue and stuck down the whole middle part. But however you do it, you just want to make sure, just like on the beginning part, that they're close together so that you don't have the big gaps. Like the whole point is you want it to look like a continuous type curve, so you don't want big gaps in between it. Okay, so now I glued that. I glued both ends and the first middle part, and then you can see how it's kind of floppy where I added in the extra pieces right there. So I'm just going to take a piece of cardboard to glue those pieces to, so that it looks, you know, a little firmer. So I'm just putting a bunch of glue down once I cut out the shape that I need just for that little section, and then another little section on the side there where you can see kind of little gaps there. And then I'm just going to glue that part, and then now it looks more stable and sturdy, you know, so it's not as floppy and gappy as it was before I added the cardboard pieces. And so that's all you need to do if your shape gets a little wonky. All right, for putting it to the wall, you can add a backing, like a little picture hook or something on the back of the wood there and stuff. But what I did, if you can see it, is just put little nails, and I hammered it right into the wall. Because of the little different tones in the macrame, you're not really going to see it. And I was going to unravel all of the pieces with the little dog brush, but I liked it the way it was. So what I just did was just take out the knots and the braids that were remaining on this side. They were a bit longer. Took that out and then kind of evened it, but I didn't want to make it too perfectly even. So, you know, just made it so that it kind of made sense for what I was doing. So I hope you liked. Make sure to follow, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.